Massive quantities of waste heat are generated each day in the United States. If harnessed to produce power, waste heat could generate as much as 10 gigawatts of emission-free electricity, enough to power 10 million homes, provide $3 billion in annual savings for American industry, and spur the creation of 160,000 new American jobs. By providing the same incentives already enjoyed by traditional renewables like wind, solar, and geothermal, the market for waste heat to power would significantly expand. Industrial waste heat is a form of energy that continuously escapes from ongoing industrial processes like oil and gas processing or manufacturing of cement, chemicals, steel, paper, glass, and other products at energy-intensive industries. The waste heat from these manufacturing processes is used to generate electricity without emissions and without combustion. The source of this electric energy is heat, not natural gas or any other fossil fuel. Waste heat to power works by capturing the energy in waste heat with a recovery unit and converting heat and electricity through a process called heat exchange. There are several technologies used in waste heat to power, like steam Rankine cycle, organic Rankine cycle, Kalina cycle, supercritical CO2 cycle, thermoelectrics, the Stirling engine, and other emerging technologies. Through heat exchange, heat can be captured and used to drive a turbine and generator which creates electricity. This electricity can be sold to the power grid or returned to the industrial company to reduce fuel and power purchases, as well as emissions. Through the application of these technologies, industrial waste heat is no longer just a byproduct. It becomes a valuable resource for emission-free electricity.
Hi students, I am Dr. A.R. Vijay Babu, working as an assistant professor in Department of EEE, Vignan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research, deemed to be University. So far we have gone through different topics in the second unit of EACM, which is Energy Audit, Conservation and Management, and the second unit is cogeneration, trigeneration and waste heat recovery. And so far we have already seen what is a cogeneration and what is a trigeneration. Now we are going to focus in the third part of the unit, that is waste heat recovery. So let's see what is the actual content of this waste heat recovery. Right. So what are the learning objectives of today's class? So but what is a waste heat? What are the different classification of waste heat resources? What is the process of waste heat recovery? Then we'll go through what is waste heat recovery technologies, which is the heart of this lecture. There are different waste heat recovery technologies and we are going to see them one by one. Recuperator, regenerator, heat wheel, heat pipe and thermophotovoltaics. And finally we are going to see what are the benefits of the waste heat recovery. Right? So coming to the actual discussion, what is waste heat? What is a waste heat? A waste heat is a heat which is generated in a process by way of fuel combustion or chemical reaction and then dumped into the environment, even though it could still be reused for some useful and economic purpose. It is what is called a waste heat. So a waste heat is nothing but a heat which is dumped into the atmosphere through chimney, even though it has some heat content in it. So large quantities of hot flue gases is generated from boilers, kilns, ovens and different furnaces. If some of this waste heat could be recovered, a considerable amount of the primary energy or the fuel that could be used in the process could be saved. Say for example, if I can properly harness this waste heat in the process, I could able to increase my efficiency from 10% to 50%. Even there is a possibility of going up to 50%. So this waste heat varies from cooling water to a very high amount of temperature exhaust gases which are released in the industrial furnaces or kilns. Right. The strategy of how you recover this heat depends partly on the temperature of the exhaust or the waste heat and the economics involved in it. Depending upon the temperature of this waste heat, there are different classifications of waste heat recovery technologies. Usually, higher the amount of heat that is available in the waste heat, higher will be the efficiency improvement and lower will be the fuel consumption. Right? And it is by very, and we'll get, whenever the temperature is higher, whenever the heat content is higher in a exhaust stream or exhaust hot gases or exhaust flue gases which goes out as a waste, then the quality of the heat that I can recover from that exhaust is also very high, right? So by harnessing this waste heat, I can use it for different purposes, like I can preheat the water by means of an economizer. I can get the superheated steam from the superheater, and I could able to heat the air before entering into the combustion chamber, and by doing all these sorts of things by means of a waste heat, I could able to increase my efficiency. So what are the waste heat recovery sources and how they are classified? They are classified into three different types. The first classification is low temperature heat recovery. When the temperature of the exhaust or the waste heat is in between 20 degrees centigrade and 230 degrees centigrade, we call those sources of waste heat as low temperature heat resources. Or on the other hand, if the temperature range is in between 230 degrees centigrade and 650 degrees centigrade, we can call them as medium temperature heat recovery. And on the contrary, if the waste heat temperature is more than 650 degrees centigrade and even more than 1700 degrees centigrade, we call that kind of system a high temperature heat recovery system. So we have three different classifications. The first classification is low temperature heat recovery, and the temperature ranges are in between 20 degrees centigrade and 230 degrees centigrade. And the second one is the medium temperature heat recovery. The temperatures are in between 230 degrees centigrade and 650 degrees centigrade. And the last one is the high temperature heat recovery, where the temperature ranges are in between 650 degrees centigrade and 1700 degrees centigrade or even higher. So this is the waste heat recovery classification. Then coming to the high temperature heat recovery sources. So what are the different examples or the processes from which we will get this high temperature heat recovery? Say for example, you can see in the slides, nickel refining furnace. From the nickel refining furnace, the flue gases which we will get will be at a temperature of around 1350 degrees centigrade to 1650 degrees centigrade. So we can utilize that heat of that flue gases or from that exhaust of that industry. Like let's take one more example, copper refining furnace. We get a heat of around 760 to 815 degrees centigrade, and we can harness those quality amount of heat from that exhaust stream, right? And generally all these high temperature heat recovery sources are obtained from direct fuel fired processes. And the next one is medium temperature heat recovery sources. What are the examples of this medium temperature heat recovery sources? Steam boiler exhaust. We have at a temperature of 230 to 400 degrees centigrade. And coming to the next example, gas turbine exhaust, and we will be having a temperature of about 370 to 540 degrees centigrade. All these are the different examples of the medium temperature heat recovery sources. And most of these medium temperature heat recovery sources are obtained from the exhaust of the direct fired processes. So they are obtained from the exhaust streams of the directly fired processes. And finally, low temperature heat recovery sources. And all these low temperature heat recovery sources will be used for preheating purposes, for preheating the air which is entering into the combustion chamber, for preheating the water before the water gets entering into the boiler in the Rankine cycle, likewise. And what are the examples? You can see furnace 32 to 55 degrees centigrade, process steam condensate 55 to 88 degrees centigrade, air compressors 27 to 50 degrees centigrade, air conditioners 32 to 43 degrees centigrade. All these are the exhaust of these different equipments. And now let's go through the process of waste heat recovery. So this process of waste heat recovery consists of three different steps. The first one is a source of waste heat. What is the source of waste heat? As I already told you, there are three different classifications. What are those? High temperature waste heat recovery, low temperature waste heat recovery, and medium temperature waste heat recoveries. We have seen different examples. So all these are the different sources of waste heat. And the other one is, now we have the waste heat. Now what we have to do it? We need to harness that waste heat. We need to recover that heat. And for recovering that heat, we have different technologies like recuperator, regenerator, heat wheel, heat pipe, thermophotovoltaics, thermoelectric generator. All these are the different waste heat recovery technologies. The second step. The third and the final step is end use of recovered heat. So where I am going to use it, as I already told you, where I will use it for heating the compressed air before the air entering into the combustion chamber in a gas turbine power plant, or by heating the steam coming out from a boiler to superheated steam before it hits the steam turbine, and the water which is coming out from the condenser through pump and will be entering into the boiler, and before that I use a device called economizer to preheat the water. All these are the different uses of waste heat recovered, right? So what are the three steps? The first thing we require is a source of waste heat. Then that source of waste heat has to be recovered by means of a suitable technology depending upon the application and the temperature range of the waste heat. And after that we need to have some particular application where I can use it. All these are the different processes in a waste heat recovery, right? Now what is a heat exchanger? The heart of this particular topic, waste heat recovery, is heat exchanger. So what is a heat exchanger? A heat exchanger is a device used to transfer the heat between two fluids. So a heat exchanger is a device used to transfer the heat between two fluids. So you can see an example on the slides over here. So you can see I have a heat exchanger and I am sending in the hot fluid which is at a temperature of 100 degrees centigrade, and I have a cold fluid which is also entering the heat exchanger which is at a temperature of 20 degrees centigrade. So in order the heat exchanger to work, I need two different kinds of fluids. The first one is a hot fluid and second one is a cold fluid. Now the heat will be transferred from this hot fluid to the cold fluid in a heat exchanger. Now you can see it here. So now the heat is sent into the hot fluid is sent into the heat exchanger, and along with it contemporarily the cold fluid also sent into the heat exchanger. The hot fluid is at a temperature of 100 degrees centigrade and the cold fluid is at a temperature of 20 degrees centigrade. Now you can see that hot fluid which is at 100 degrees centigrade will transfer its heat to the cold fluid which is at 20 degrees centigrade. So after transferring the heat to the cold fluid, now the hot fluid will leave the heat exchanger at a temperature of 40 degrees centigrade. So initially the hot fluid which is at 100 degrees centigrade will become a cold fluid now which is at 40 degrees centigrade, and this temperature difference is 60 degrees, and the 60 degrees centigrade is transferred to the cold fluid. Now the cold fluid will absorb this heat which is lost by the 100 degrees centigrade hot fluid. Now this cold fluid which is at 20 degrees centigrade, you can see it here, will absorb the 60 degrees centigrade heat coming from the hot fluid stream, and it will raise its temperature to 70 degrees centigrade. Actually speaking, it has to increase its temperature to 80 degrees centigrade because 20 plus 60 will be 80, but it is increasing its temperature only to 70 degrees centigrade. Why? It's because of the heat transfer losses which accounts to 10 degrees centigrade, and this heat transfer losses depends upon the efficiency of a heat exchanger. So the energy which is lost by the hot fluid 60 degrees centigrade will be equivalent to the energy which is gained by the cold fluid 50 degrees centigrade plus heat transfer losses 10 degrees centigrade. So 50 plus 10 equal to 60. So it's satisfying the energy conservation concept. Energy will never be created nor be destroyed. It will just transform from one form to the other form. The energy which is lost by the hot fluid will be equivalent to the energy which is gained by the cold fluid plus heat transfer losses, right? So that 60 degrees centigrade which is lost by the hot fluid is nothing but the temperature which is recovered from the hot fluid stream. The fluid stream may be a flue gas stream which is coming out of a chimney, right? And the temperature which is absorbed to 50 degrees centigrade is by doing so the efficiency of the system is increased. Whenever the efficiency of the system is increased, then what happens? The input is reduced. Whenever the input is reduced, then the emission or the pollution which is coming out from the process also will be reduced, right? So this is an advantage of this heat exchanger or a waste heat recovery.
Today we will discuss about heat exchanger. What is heat exchanger and how it will work? What is the basic concept of heat exchanger? Heat exchanger is used for exchanging heat between two fluids. We have a chamber which is called heat exchanger chamber, in which we have a left side coil and a right side coil or pipes. From left side or right side you can choose any one for hot fluid flowing, but it will exchange their heat by flowing in the pipe, and the outside fluid will be cold fluid. And in the other side of the pipe, cold fluid will be entered from the upper side, and the other side will be get hot fluid by the exchanging of heat by the first fluid. So this is the basic concept behind the heat exchanger. Now we will see the working of heat exchanger, how it will work. Hot fluid will come from the left side pipe and it will cool because of heat exchanging to the second pipe or right side pipe. Cold fluid will be enter from the right side pipe and hot fluid will we get from this heat exchanging, which first pipe gives heat to the second pipe for hot the fluid. So this is the basic concept and working of the heat exchanger. Hot fluid will come and it will become cool, and cold fluid will come, it will become hot. This is the heat exchanger working.
Now let us see what are the different waste heat recovery technologies. The first one is a recuperator. Second one, regenerator. Third one, heat wheel. Fourth one, heat pipe. And the last one, thermophotovoltaic, TPV. All these are the different waste heat recovery technologies that we are going to see in this particular lecture. Right? Now coming to the first one, recuperator. What is a recuperator? A recuperator is nothing but a heat exchanger. The purpose of it is to exchange the heat flow between two fluids. So a recuperator has separate flow paths for each fluid which flows simultaneously through the exchanger, transferring heat between the streams. So what do you mean by this? You can see it here. So a recuperator is a hot fluid and there is a separate path for a cold fluid. So there will be two different paths for the passage of hot fluid and cold fluid in the recuperator. So what is a recuperator? A recuperator has a separate flow paths for each fluid which flows simultaneously through the exchanger, transferring heat between the streams. So a recuperator having two separate mediums or two separate fluid paths for both hot fluid as well as for the cold fluid. So the recuperators are generally used to recover the waste heat from the exhaust stream of gas turbines. So the gas turbine exhaust will be utilized by means of a recuperator. right? So the technology is used for applications with low to high temperature heat recovery system and is used to decrease the energy demand by preheating the inlet into the system. So what is the purpose of this recuperator? To preheat the air which is entering into the combustion chamber, thereby to improve the efficiency of the process. Now let's see. Right, now we have a gas turbine power plant and the cycle or the working principle of this gas turbine power plant is Brayton cycle. So it consists of an compressor, a combustion chamber, turbine and a generator. It is nothing but a Brayton cycle. So once we send the cool air into the compressor and the compressor will compress that air and it will send that compressed air into the combustion chamber where fuel such as coal, oil, natural gas, biomass is added to the combustion chamber. So in the combustion chamber there is a process called combustion will takes place and the exhaust fume, there is a flue gases or the result of this combustion process, and these flue gases are made to fall on the gas turbine making it to rotate. Whenever the gas turbine rotate, which is coupled to the generator and the generator also will rotate converting that mechanical energy of rotation of the gas turbine into electrical energy. This is nothing but a Brayton cycle. So in a Brayton cycle where we can get the waste heat, you can see it here. After turning the gas turbine, the flue gases will enter the chimney, right? So the exhaust of the gas turbine is nothing but a flue gases which are at a very high temperature will leave the chimney with the particular amount of heat in it, and we can use. So how could we utilize this heat? So we have to utilize this heat by means of a device called a recuperator. So a recuperator is a heat exchanger that transfers the heat from the exhaust stream of the gas turbine and send it to the compressed air via recuperator. So how it will work? You can see it here. The exhaust of this gas turbine is fed into the regenerator. A regenerator is nothing but a heat exchanger. So this hot exhaust gases are fed into the recuperator from one end, which is a hot fluid, and from the other end the compressed air is sent into the recuperator instead of sending it into the combustion chamber, right? So now this compressed air which is entering the recuperator will take the heat from the hot exhaust flue gases flowing through the recuperator and increases its heat, and that heated compressed air will now be entered into the combustion chamber, and thereby the efficiency of the system will be improved because the heat is recovered. To be frank, the waste heat is recovered here, right? The heat which is going to be a waste is now recovered, right, by means of this recuperator, and thereby the efficiency of the system got increased, and whenever the efficiency increases, the amount of fuel which you are sending into the combustion chamber will be decreased, and thereby the pollution gets decreased. It is the concept of a recuperator waste heat recovery technology. The second one is a regenerator. In case of a recuperator, we have two separate flow paths for cold fluid and hot fluid, whereas in case of a regenerator we have only a single flow path for both hot fluid and cold fluid. Then how the heat transfer will take place? Both will use that medium alternately. That is, you can see it here. First, the hot fluid will pass through the heat transfer medium and it loses the heat to the heat transfer medium, and the heat transfer medium will now got heated up. Now the cold fluid now will pass through the heat transfer medium which absorb the heat from the hot fluid previously pass it through it. Now it will transfer that heat to the cold fluid, making the cold fluid a hot fluid. It is how the regenerator will work out. So a regenerator exchange heat from a hot fluid to an intermediate storage medium, and then that storage medium exchanges the heat with the cold fluid. So it's a two-way conversion from hot fluid to the storage medium, from storage medium to the cold fluid. It is what is called a regenerator technology. Now, so how it will be used? The same technology will be again used in a gas turbine power plant to enhance the efficiency of a system. The same concept. The exhaust of the hot gases are made to pass through the combustion chamber, right? And then the hot exhaust gases are now passed through the regenerator before they enter into the chimney, and that hot gases will loses its heat to the heat storage medium in a regenerator, right? And then that heat storage medium now will transfer that heat to the compressed air which is entering into the regenerator before it enters into the combustion chamber, and thereby it is preheating the compressed air, right? The same concept is utilized, but the way in which you recover the heat is different. In case of a recuperator, you have two paths for cold fluid and hot fluid flow, whereas in case of a regenerator there is only one single path for both cold fluid and hot fluid. And the third one is a heat wheel. So what is this heat wheel? A heat wheel is a type of energy recovery heat exchanger positioned within the supply air and exhaust gas streams of an air handling system in an industrial process to recover the heat energy. Same thing, concept is same. Whatever, all these five concepts are based upon a heat exchanger, that is transferring the heat from hot fluid to a cold fluid. This hot fluid is a waste heat and cold fluid is a required heat, right? Now what happens, this you can see it here. In this technology, heat is transferred through a porous thermal wheel consisting of a honeycomb material between the hot and cold fluid flows. Here the thermal wheel or the heat wheel is made of honeycomb material, and what is the purpose of this? The heat wheel is made up of high thermal capacity material. Why high thermal capacity material? If a metal is having high thermal capacity, it will absorb more amount of heat compared to that material which is having low thermal capacity, right? So it is how it will be used. So a heat wheel. And then, so how it will work? You can see the picture over here, how this one will work. So you have two ducts here. The top one is a top duct and the bottom one is a bottom duct, and this top duct carries a cold air and the bottom duct carries a flue gases, right? The bottom one is a hot duct and the top one is a cold duct. In between these two ducts you will place the heat wheel, a wheel, right? Now what it will do, at the bottom part the hot exhaust gases will flow through the wheel, and this wheel will absorb that heat from the exhaust gases, and that exhaust gases temperature will be cooled down after flowing through this heat wheel. And this heat wheel is a rotating equipment. It will always rotate. It will keep on rotating. Now what happens? The heat which is absorbed from the exhaust gases at the bottom part, now when it moves to the top part, you will pass the cold air from the top duct or the cold duct. Now what happens? This cool air will take the heat which is stored in the heat wheel and becomes a hot air. Right. So here in the bottom duct, heat is absorbing by the heat wheel. At the top duct, in the top portion of the heat wheel, or when it moves to the top duct, what happens? The heat will be rejected by the heat wheel to the cold air, so that the cold air will become a hot air. It is how the heat wheel will work. Right. So you can see an example. It has two sections. One is a bottom part, another one is a top part. It's a rotating heat wheel. As you can see here, the hot stream, the hot flue gases are at a temperature of 22 degrees centigrade will enter this heat wheel. Now as the thermal wheel rotates, heat is picked up from the hot exhaust air stream in one half of the rotation and give it to the fresh cold air stream on the other half of the rotation. Thus the waste heat energy from the hot exhaust air stream is transferred to the matrix material, otherwise called as the storage material, and then from the matrix material to the fresh air stream, raising the temperature of the cold air stream. So let's take an example here. Here there is a heat wheel. The upper part is a hot duct and lower part of this one is a cold duct. And you can see in the hot duct there are some hot air at a temperature of 22 degrees Celsius. And this 22 degrees Celsius hot air will be sent into the rotating perforated heat wheel disc. Right. Now what happens? This heat wheel, which is having a high thermal conductivity, will absorb the heat from that hot air and it will expel the cold air at a temperature of 2 degrees centigrade to outside. That is 22 minus 2. That is 20 degrees centigrade is the heat which is stored by this heat wheel. Now on the other hand, we will pass the cold air through the heat wheel, which is at a temperature of minus 5 degrees centigrade. Now that heat wheel is at a temperature of 20 degrees centigrade. Now this cold air which we are sending into the heat wheel from the bottom will absorb that energy from the heat wheel. So minus 5 plus 20 degrees centigrade. So the air which will now will become the air which is now leaving that heat wheel at the bottom cold duct will be at a temperature of 15 degrees centigrade. It is minus 5 plus 20 which is equivalent to 15 degrees centigrade. It is how the heat will get transferred between the two fluids of a heat wheel. And the fourth one is the heat pipe. So what is a heat pipe? A heat pipe is a device which can transfer heat from one place to the another with the help of two processes called condensation and vaporization of the working fluid. What is condensation? Conversion of gas into liquid. What is vaporization? The converse of condensation, that is conversion of liquid into vapor. Right. So the working fluid which is used in a heat pipe may be acetone, methanol, ammonia, sodium, or sometimes water.
What is heat pipe? Heat pipe is a heat superconductor. Heat pipes consist of container vessel, typically a pipe, wick structure, and a working fluid. Heat pipes are made by vacuuming and evacuating any air within the pipe. Afterwards, the pipe is charged with working fluid. This working fluid then evenly spreads into the wick structure within the pipe. Next, the vacuum end is clamped and sealed and a heat pipe is formed. When heat is inputted into one end of the heat pipe, the working fluid begins to boil and absorb large amounts of heat using only a small amount of working fluid. During this process, the phase change to vapor occurs with no change to the temperature inside the heat pipe vessel. This change from liquid phase to vapor phase is called latent heat of evaporation. The vapor then travels at sonic speed from the evaporator end to the other end of the pipe. When the vapor flow meets cold at the other end of the pipe, it releases heat and condenses back to liquid form. This end of the pipe is called the condenser end, and this phase change from vapor phase back to liquid phase is called latent heat of condensation. The condensed liquid then travels back to the origin end of the pipe via the wick structure. Overall, a heat pipe cycle has 4 phases, with each of these phases playing a role in the heat pipe's ability to transport heat from one end of the pipe to the other. The 4 phases are evaporating, vapor transporting, condensing, and liquid returning. The evaporating and condensing phenomena can be seen in our everyday life. Simple everyday events such as boiling water in a pot, or witnessing the climate cycle evaporate water from lakes, and then having the vapor rise to form a cloud, are all examples of the evaporating. When the water vapor within the cloud rises to the point that it meets cold enough air, it condenses back to liquid form and drops to the ground as either rain, snow, or hail. This is an example of condensing. This same weather pattern can be found, on a micro scale, within a heat pipe vessel, where a heat pipe uses a small amount of working fluid to transport a large amount of heat while maintaining a very small temperature difference between the evaporator and condenser.
So, a heat pipe, as you can see in the figure, is divided into 3 sections. The first section is the evaporator section, the second one is the adiabatic transport section, and last one is a condenser section. Right, 3 parts. First part is a evaporator section, the second part is the adiabatic transport section, and the third part is a condenser section. Right? A heat pipe consists of a sealed container and a wick structure and a small amount of working fluid such as water, acetone, methanol, ammonia or sodium that is in equilibrium with its own vapor. Right? So it is all about a heat pipe's construction. It is divided into 3 parts: evaporator section, adiabatic transport section, condenser section. Right? It consists of a working fluid which may be water, acetone, methanol, ammonia or sodium. On the other hand, it also consists of a wick structure. You can see the grey colored thing, that is nothing but a wick structure. So inside the heat pipe, a working fluid is present both in liquid as well as in the vapor phases. Right? So when the heat is applied to one end of the pipe, that is the evaporator section. When you apply the heat to the evaporator section, the water, the liquid which is there will now got evaporates and converted into vapor, which is indicated by that red color arrows. So and this vapor will travel through the adiabatic section to the other end of the heat pipe called condenser, and this flow will takes place because of the pressure difference which is created inside the heat pipe. Right? Now, so in the condenser, the vapor condenses as the temperature is lower. So we provide at the condenser side, the temperature is lower and thereby the vapor will get again converted into liquid by a process called condensation, releasing the huge amounts of latent heat. Whenever the phase change occurs, you will get a latent heat and huge amounts of heat will be liberated, and this heat can be extracted from the heat pipe by a heat sink. So to complete the cycle, the condensed liquid must be pumped back to the evaporator section as indicated by the blue arrows. Right? So what is the process here? The process is very simple. You will provide the heat, the waste heat which is available in the industry to the evaporator section. So the working fluid which is inside this heat pipe will be in a liquid form. So after it takes the energy from the waste heat, will be converted into vapor, and this vapor will transfer through the adiabatic section, and it will reach as the other end of the heat pipe called condenser, where the temperature is very less, and thereby this vapor will again condenses into liquid, and whenever this vapor condenses into liquid, huge amount of heat will be liberated, and that heat will be taken by the heat sink and it will give it to the air before it enters into the combustion chamber, right, to improve the efficiency of so and so system of a gas turbine system. On the other hand, it can give this heat to the economizer to preheat the water which is entering into the boiler in a steam turbine power plant, right, and this condensed liquid will again be fed back into the evaporator section through wicks which are provided at the bottom and top parts of this or the inner lining of this heat pipe. So the fluid return is facilitated by the capillary or wick structure indicated in a color gray. So the capillary pressure that is created by the menisci in the wick structure drives the liquid back to the hot end of the pipe. It is how the heat pipe will work. So a heat pipe consists of three sections: evaporator, adiabatic section, and last one is a condenser section. So in the evaporator section you will be having a working fluid in the form of a liquid, and whenever waste heat is given to this evaporator section, that liquid will be evaporated and it will convert it into vapor. That vapor will transport through the adiabatic section and it will reaches the condenser where the temperature is less, and in the condenser what happens? In the condenser the vapor will be converted into liquid, and that liquid will be again fed back to the evaporator section through a wick structure, and because of this conversion of vapor into liquid, huge amount of latent heat will be liberated which will be collected by the heat sink. It is how the heat pipe will work. The last one is a thermophotovoltaic system. So a thermophotovoltaic energy conversion is a process that convert thermal energy directly into electrical energy via photons by making use of a photons. So a basic thermophotovoltaic system consists of three equipments or three devices. The first one, you can see that red color one is a heat source, and that yellow color one, the second layer, is a selective radiator, and finally that hashed line is a photovoltaic converter. So a thermophotovoltaic system is nothing but a photovoltaic system. The working is same as that of a photovoltaic panel. So the basic principle is similar to that of a traditional photovoltaic system that convert the light energy into electrical energy. The only difference between these two systems is that the light energy in case of a photovoltaic system will be taken from the sun, whereas in case of a thermophotovoltaic system, that light energy will be provided by the waste heat sources, and that the source is nothing but a emitter. And now see, so the working principle of a thermophotovoltaic system. So the thermophotovoltaic system consists of a heat source. That heat source may be either sunlight, fossil fuels, radioactive decay, or waste heat. You can take any of the waste heat in this TPV system, and that heat will be made to fall on the emitter, or otherwise called observer. So that this observer will convert the heat into radiation and is selectively filtered by a spectral filter. So what happens? The emitter will convert this waste heat into radiation, and the filter will selectively filter the radiation before it enter into the photovoltaic PN diode, right? Now the PV diode convert the transmitted photons with energies in excess of the band gap is converted into charge carriers, right? And the photons below the band gap are partially absorbed and converted into waste heat and partially recycled back to emitter by the backside contact. So how it will work? Again I am repeating this. So a heat source will make its heat to fall on the emitter, Well, this emitter will convert this heat into radiation, and spectral filter will selectively filter the radiation. And after that, this radiation will made to fall on a PV diode, right? The photovoltaic diode, which is having some band gap. So what is a band gap? The amount of energy required to move an electron from valency band to conduction band is nothing but a band gap. So if the photons which are having excess of this band gap will be utilized to transfer the electron from valency band to the conduction band and thereby producing the electrical energy. And the photons which are having band gap less than the band gap of the PN diode will not be able to move an electron from valency band to the conduction band, and thereby it is a waste of time. So these waste radiations will be again recycled back to the emitter through spectral filter. And there is one more important thing called thermal metamaterials, which is a hot research topic nowadays. These thermal metamaterials are made of tungsten and hafnium oxide. Now what it will do? So when you have the waste heat, when you heat this material by means of a waste heat, this is what is called the emitter material. The emitter is made of tungsten and hafnium oxide. Now it will heat it to a temperature of 1000 degrees centigrade. But what is the advantage of using this metamaterial? See, the emission of high energy photons is enhanced by means of this material, whereas the emission of low energy photons are suppressed. It will so actually what is the process? The low energy photons will again come back to the emitter, and this material will not produce that low energy photons at all in the beginning itself, and thereby only high energy photons will be produced, and that high energy photons will made to fall on the photovoltaic cell, and they will generate the electrical energy. And finally, let's see the benefits of a waste heat recovery technologies, right? So the recovery of waste heat increases the efficiency of the process, right? We are recovering the waste heat and we are making it useful to the system, and thereby the efficiency of the system is improved. So whenever the efficiency of the system is improved, the input is decreased, and thereby what happens? The flue gas produced also will be decreased, and thereby the emissions also will be reduced. So as the flue gas emitted into the atmosphere is reduced, the size of the flue gas handling equipment such as fans, stacks, ducts, burners, electrostatic precipitators, fabric filters is reduced, right? Because as the flue gases are produced in a less quantity, the small amount of flue gas handling equipments are sufficient. So once this happens, reduction in equipment sizes gives additional benefit in the form of reduction in auxiliary energy consumption like electricity for fans, pumps, etc. Whenever the equipment size of flue gases handling system decreases, automatically the amount of electricity required to run those equipments will be decreased. So thereby it has 4 different advantages. The first one is efficiency will be improved, the emissions will be cut down, the flue gas handling capacity equipments will be reduced, and the auxiliary energy which is required by the flue gas handling equipment will be reduced. Let me conclude this lecture. So far we have gone through waste heat recovery. So we have first gone through what is a waste heat, and then we have gone through different waste heat recovery classifications. We have low temperature waste recovery, high temperature waste recovery, and medium temperature waste recovery. The low temperature heat recovery uses the temperatures in between 20 degrees centigrade and 230 degrees centigrade. The medium temperature heat recovery uses the temperature in between 230 degrees centigrade and 650 degrees centigrade. And finally the high temperature heat recovery uses the temperature in between 650 degrees centigrade and 1700 degrees centigrade or even high, right? And then we have gone through the different processes that are involved in the heat recovery of waste heat. What are those processes? We require a heat source, we require a sufficient technology, and then we have a end use application. And finally we have gone through different waste heat recovery technologies. What are those? Recuperator, regenerator, heat wheel, heat pipe and thermophotovoltaic system. Finally, we have gone through the benefits of the waste heat recovery system. What are the benefits? The efficiency is improved, the first benefit, and the second benefit is the flue gas emission will be reduced. Third one is the size of the flue gas handling equipments are reduced, and finally the auxiliary energy which is required by the flue gas handling equipments also got reduced. In the next class we will go through our third unit, that is the energy efficiency in lighting systems. Thank you.